You've probably heard the words stocks and bonds hundreds of times. You've seen them in news headlines, investment apps, and financial advice articles. But here's the honest question. Do you actually know how they work, how they make you money, and why one might destroy your savings while the other quietly protects it? Most explanations make them sound far more complicated than they are. Today, we're cutting through all of that. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what each one is, how each one makes you money, what risks each one carries, and which one belongs in your portfolio right now. Let's get into it. So, let's start with stocks, because this one is actually pretty intuitive once you think about it the right way. When you buy a stock, you're buying a tiny piece of a real company. Not a certificate, not a number on a screen. An actual ownership stake in a business. If that company has 1 million shares outstanding and you buy 1,000 of them, you literally own a small fraction of everything that company owns. Every product, every building, every future profit. Now, how do you actually make money from a stock? 2 ways. First, the stock price goes up. If you buy a share at $50 and the company grows, releases a hit product, or expands into new markets, the price might climb to $70 or $80. You sell, you pocket the difference. That's called a capital gain. Second, dividends. Some companies, especially well-established ones, share a portion of their profits with shareholders on a regular basis, usually quarterly. Think of it as a thank you for being an owner. Not every company does this, though. A lot of fast-growing tech companies reinvest every dollar back into the business instead of paying out dividends. But here's the flip side. Stock prices don't only go up. They can swing wildly based on company performance, economic conditions, industry trends, or even investor emotion. That volatility is the defining characteristic of stocks. High potential, but real risk. Now, bonds work completely differently, and once you understand the core idea, everything else clicks. When you buy a bond, you're not buying ownership. You're lending money. That's it. You lend money to a government, a corporation, or a municipality, and they promise to pay you back with interest. Here's how it works in practice. You buy a bond for $1,000 with a 5% annual interest rate and a 10-year maturity. Every year, the bond issuer pays you $50 in interest, called a coupon payment. After 10 years, you get your original $1,000 back. Simple, predictable, steady. But here's where bonds get interesting and where most beginners get confused. Bond prices actually move in the open market, and they move in the opposite direction of interest rates. Let's say interest rates in the broader economy rise from 5 to 6%. Now new bonds being issued are paying $60 per year. Suddenly, your bond paying $50 looks less attractive. So if you wanted to sell it before maturity, you'd have to drop the price to make it competitive. Flip it around. If interest rates fall to 4%, your 5% bond is suddenly the best deal around. Investors would actually pay more than $1,000 to get their hands on it. That's the relationship. When interest rates rise, bond prices fall. When interest rates fall, bond prices rise. Understanding that one dynamic is more valuable than memorizing any formula. Really quick. If this is making bonds and stocks finally click for you, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss a breakdown like this. And comment the word stocks below. I'm putting together a one-pager comparing both investments, and I'll send it to everyone who comments. All right, back to it. Let's be honest about the risks, because this is the part most people gloss over. With stocks, the biggest risk is volatility. In 2008, the market dropped around 37%. In early 2020, during the pandemic panic, it fell 34% in about a month. If you needed that money in the short term, you were in trouble. Stocks are powerful for long-term growth, but genuinely dangerous if your time horizon is short. With bonds, people assume they're completely safe. They're not. There are 3 real risks. Credit risk is the possibility that whoever you lent money to can't pay it back. A government bond from a stable country is very safe. A bond from a struggling company? Much riskier. Interest rate risk is what we just covered. If rates rise after you buy a bond, the value of your bond drops. If you need to sell before maturity, you could take a loss. Inflation risk is the sneaky one. If your bond is paying 3% annually, but inflation is running at 4%, You're actually losing purchasing power every year, even while receiving payments. Bonds are lower risk than stocks in most scenarios, but they're not zero risk. Let's put them side by side so the differences are clear. Ownership. Stocks make you a part owner of a business. Bonds make you a lender. Completely different relationship. Income. Stocks generate income through rising prices and dividends. Bonds generate income through fixed coupon payments. Stocks are variable. Bonds are predictable. Risk. Stocks carry higher risk with higher potential reward. Bonds carry lower risk with lower potential reward. That trade-off never goes away. Liquidity. Both can be bought and sold relatively easily, but stock prices fluctuate daily, while bonds have a fixed maturity that anchors their value. Purpose in your portfolio. Stocks are growth engines. They build wealth over the long term. Bonds are stabilizers. They protect wealth and generate steady income, especially when stock markets get turbulent. So, how to use both in your portfolio? Most financial professionals talk about asset allocation, which just means deciding what percentage of your portfolio goes into stocks versus bonds versus other assets. And that percentage should change based on your age and goals. When you're young, say in your 20s or 30s, you have decades ahead of you. You can afford to ride out stock market crashes because you have time for things to recover. So, a portfolio that's 80 or 90% stocks makes sense. You're maximizing long-term growth. As you get closer to retirement, the calculus shifts. You can't afford a major crash right before you need the money. So gradually shifting more toward bonds, maybe 60% bonds and 40% stocks by the time you're in your 60s, reduces your exposure to big swings while keeping some growth potential. A useful rough guide: subtract your age from 110. The result is roughly how much of your portfolio should be in stocks. At 30, that's 80% stocks. At 60, it's 50%. Adjust based on your personal comfort with risk. So here's the bottom line. Stocks are ownership in companies. They offer higher returns over time, but come with real volatility along the way. Bonds are loans to governments or corporations. They offer predictable income with lower risk, but also lower long-term returns. Neither is better than the other in isolation. The smartest investors use both, adjusting the balance based on how much time they have and how much risk they can stomach. If you're young and building wealth, lean into stocks. If you're protecting wealth or approaching retirement, lean toward bonds. And most people in between? A thoughtful mix of both. Subscribe for more breakdowns like this, hit like, and share this with anyone just starting their investing journey. And don't forget to comment stocks below for the one-pager. See you in the next one.